Hello and welcome to The Hash. I am Zach Seward and you are watching CoinDesk TV. I'm joined today by Naomi Brockwell, Jen Sanasi, and Will Foxley. We are here to get you up to speed on all that's going on in crypto and beyond. Starting off today, we are going to talk about YouTube. Jen, take it from here.
Yeah, YouTube looks like they are thinking about Web3 like every other platform out there. So YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki suggested in a letter that the video platform may be looking at Web3, including NFTs, as a way to help their creators make money. The letter shared no timeline or concrete plans, but referenced innovation in Web3 as a source of inspiration to continue innovating at YouTube. So we've spoken a lot on the show about the big Web2 giants thinking about Web3. And I was just at the North American Bitcoin Conference, and William Quigley of Wax said that he thinks that new incumbents are going to win Web3, and the Web2 giants aren't the ones who are going to really be able to innovate in the space. He was talking about gaming, but I think it could apply here as well. So, Naomi, I'm going to kick it up to you. What do you make of YouTube getting into the Web3 space? I mean, it's not surprising, but do you think that they can continue to innovate as fast as new incumbents?
Well, the fact that they're looking into beginning the process of adding NFTs now, where we've already kind of missed the hype and we're into the bear market, suggests that they're not currently innovating at the speed of other companies. But that doesn't mean that this is a bad idea. So currently, if you have a YouTube channel, you have the option of adding this merch shelf at the bottom. You can sell sweatshirts and caps and whatever. And it's a way for content creators to monetize their channel. Of course, content creators could use other platforms. They could just put a merch link in the description, have something completely separate. The benefit of what YouTube has done with this merch shelf is that it puts it right there front and center and says, you know, if you want to support this creator, buy some of their merch. And it's just a super easy click. This could be a great way to integrate NFTs and say, like, this is my legitimate NFT. I think a lot of the confusion around NFTs right now, it can be scary for people if they don't know whether something is legitimately from the creator it says it's from, right? You could have a Daft Punk NFT out there and someone's like, oh my God, Daft Punk never does stuff like this. I'm going to buy this NFT. And then you find out, oh no, it was a scammer pretending to be Daft Punk. And so it could be really scary for people to be able to trust these creators. Now, if you had something directly underneath your YouTube channel that said, this is my NFT, that could take away that fear and provide a very easy access link for people to get involved with this. Makes a lot of sense given that there are so many crypto content creators on YouTube at the moment as well. And so you may see a lot of people diving into this as a way of helping them fund their channel. But I will throw this to Will. What's your thought?
Kind of agree with you, kind of don't. So let's look at the numbers a little bit. So there's been this talk about NFTs being in a bear market. If you look at the numbers, Frank Chaparro, the block, had a nice piece about this the other day. It looks like they're actually holding up in terms of volume pretty nicely. January was one of the highest months for NFT volumes, and the price floor for NFTs and some of the bigger collections is actually holding up pretty steady. So might not be a bear market quite yet, which kind of leads me to the second point, that it seems the NFT market has a lot more legs than anyone on this show, I think, thought about, just kind of going back through the year.
Especially you.
Kept calling the top. Especially me. Public enemy number one, right? I called the NFT top 3 or 4 times wrong every single time, and I am having some fun staying poor by myself here. But I think, Naomi, you are correct in saying these incumbents don't really stand a chance when it comes to integrating Web3 stuff. And I think part of that is because nobody knows what Web3 quite is yet, and that's okay. We're not at a finished product, right? Web3 is supposed to be this innovative kind of combination of money and the internet. And I don't think something like YouTube, Facebook, Meta, whatnot is going to be able to jump around and move so quickly in this environment. They're not quick and nimble like you need to be able to address the market. There is obviously a market for tokens. There's obviously a market for NFTs. There's obviously a market for crypto in general and being able to use things like MetaMask in a browser experience. But these platforms like YouTube, they're, like you said, they're a little slow. They're too big. They're not going to be able to address this as quickly because more so than not, we don't really know what Web3 is yet. We're still defining the term. Zach, I'll throw it up to you.
I just wanted to echo what you're saying. NFTs have proven to be a bit resilient, or at least different from the existing crypto market, right? These prices aren't sinking as fast as some of the other crypto assets are in the market today. So it may suggest that, the concentric circle of like diehard crypto users and NFT collectors and buyers, sellers, whatever you want to call them, maybe those might be different worlds, and that Venn diagram might be fairly small. So that's the only thing I wanted to mention there, because it is interesting to see that trend shaping up in the market. All right. We're going to take another Web3 hack here. We are going to go from NFTs to DAOs. Let's talk about DAOs. Let's talk about Syndicate Protocol. They are this thing that makes it easy to spin up DAOs, and they're launching this Web3 investment clubs feature that's actually kind of interesting. So you, me, us, whoever, the chat, we could all put our Ethereum wallets into this site and spin up a DAO just like as easy as pie. It's pretty crazy and also kind of muddling of all these terms. So there's a lot to talk about here. Are these just companies? Is just like incorporating online investment clubs in a way that's distinct and also protected by existing regulations, or is this indeed the DAOs going mainstream and potentially seeing more creative use cases going forward thanks to platforms like this and others? All right, I'm going to throw this to Will. When you see like an investment club platform spinning up with ease, what are your initial thoughts?
First thing off the top, not related to your question, Syndicate DAO has one of the coolest Twitters out there, so definitely give them a follow. Everything's like super cryptic and like in beeps and bops. It doesn't really make sense, but somehow if you like decode it, it means something interesting, and they always do it like right before they do little press launches. So that's a little
I'm gonna go follow
plug
them
there
now.
for Syndicate DAO. Yeah, definitely go follow them. To your question though, this is pretty interesting. I think that this is the market that makes sense to me, and you're getting an opinion from somebody who totally missed all of NFTs, didn't understand it at all. So it's probably a bad opinion. But this does make sense to me, the idea that you can put people in a group, you can have crypto money kind of facilitating within the group, everyone's in a group chat, and then there's some sort of like resolution around who is who in the chat, and like being able to keep, I guess I can't come up with the word off the top of my head right now, but people's identity and who you're interacting with, and you can work with each other from across borders. I can be in a group chat with someone from India, from the United States, from Canada, from Venezuela, from China, and we can all make an investment thesis together in a group chat and have some sort of cryptographic proofs around it to make sure that no one's stealing money, that we're all aligned on what investments we're going to make. It just makes sense, and it's very cool that there's something like that happening. I mean, take it from the other side of the landscape, right? I wouldn't be able to invest with someone from here in Austin, Texas, and someone from India because of the distance and the paperwork involved. But if you break those down by having like communication and encryption and then internet money, then you can start doing some pretty powerful things from the investment landscape. Jen, I think I saw your hand up, so I'll toss it down to you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree with you. I think this is really cool and the next step for making DAOs more accessible. But Zach, I still am having a hard time. Like, doesn't this take the decentralization away from the decentralized autonomous organization?
It may indeed. I mean, I think the decentralized autonomous organization, well, actually, no. That's my second least favorite word in DAO. I think autonomous is my most least favorite word in DAO, because it really is just like people doing stuff collectively, right? And I think stuff like this really sort of, again, like muddies the picture of what a DAO is and what a DAO isn't. And I think, like, I don't know, that's like an open question to me, right? We're trying to shoehorn these entities into like existing compliance frameworks. They're like, hey, we consulted with a law firm and we tried to make like legal templates depending on your jurisdiction, because if you're a DAO, you don't want to get like sued and stuff like that. So they're trying to sort of like cram this concept that historically had been purely online and purely in the realm of blockchain into existing real world frameworks, and it's not exactly a one-to-one fit. So I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see. But I'm going to toss this to Naomi because I saw her hand up.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily takes away the decentralized aspect of this. So the way a lot of these platforms work, and I haven't looked into the specifics of Syndicate in particular, is they will provide the code base, but that doesn't mean that they're hosting this on their servers. So you would take something that's like pre-written code, you'd plug and play whatever you want. They're not controlling any of those aspects. They're literally just providing a template for you. Like this is something like I did a flip starter campaign on for Bitcoin Cash, like a fundraiser, and you had the flip starter people provide this template, but I'm there, spinning up my own server, hosting this thing, plugging in all the details that I want, which makes it completely in my control and no one else has access to it. But they just made it super easy to launch something like that. So you didn't need some centralized hub. It sort of replaces these centralized hubs that control the money and control everything going in, and puts it all back in your hands, which is pretty cool. Like my biggest concern about this, like we're talking about like how easy it is to just be in a group of people and enter into like a financial contract with them. Just slow down, guys. You don't necessarily want to be entering into a financial contract with everyone you meet. You don't really just want to be diving into that. So like there is an opportunity cost with every investment that you make. So you should still be being very careful about where you decide to put your money, thoroughly vetting the people and the project you're putting your money into. That being said, I do really like the idea of being able to take away these barriers to entry. Currently, there are huge barriers to entry for all of this, as Will, you dived into. It's much better if you have something that's secured cryptographically than secured by a bunch of complex jargon from lawyers that you need more lawyers to kind of pass through, and all these clauses and complexity, and there's so much money associated with that, with paying these people. If we can create these templates and say, hey, this is plug and play and it's all secured with mathematics rather than all these people you have to hire, that's pretty interesting to me. So it means that the people who do want to enter into these contracts with others, it's just going to be a lot simpler to do so. So I think that's pretty cool. But Zach, I'll throw it back to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, my final thoughts here, just there's an interesting quote about how this is sort of like, before broadcasting went to YouTube, it sort of like created like the emergence of YouTube and sort of more easily created video content created all sorts of different forms and all sorts of different crazy stuff. The idea that this could be similar to that as it relates to investment clubs is potentially really interesting. I mean, I think, this is still going to be a niche product. Not everyone knows how to wield a MetaMask wallet and make this work, but it's going to be interesting to see what experiments spin up when platforms like this become as easy as pie. All right, that's it. We're going to take a break. I think we're going to try to find Jen. She just disappeared again. She's probably back in the comments.
She went to the metaverse.
Is she back in the comments? She's back in the comments.
I don't know. Let's check it out.
We're going to check that out. No, she's not back. We got to find her. We're going to take a break. We're going to go hunt for Jen. And when we get back, we're going to talk about Russia. There's like crypto ban stuff going on in Russia. People talking about this, people talking about that. We'll get you up to speed on what's going on there. Stick with us. It's the break. Wish us luck in finding Jen. All right.
Free Jen, guys. Free Jen.
Let's go search for her.
Where is she?
What's up, everybody? This is Spencer Dinwiddie.
And I'm Solo Cisse.
And this is New Money, brought to you by CoinDesk.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him. I hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I'ma let him.
What we'll see is money not only being exchanged for this digital currency, but the frictionless movement across borders. It's going to be able to flow as easy as a text message.
Staying true to yourself, right? Like, you've always been true to yourself.
I just want to share that with everybody. You could be yourself in full capacity.
It's our duty to take our visions and be fearless in our pursuit.
Be my most authentic self and show people that, look, I'm an athlete, and yes, I'm also a part of the LGBT community.
My goal is to have, my own NFT, my own entire IP, like my own everything.
How do you think, blockchain and crypto impacts the way you think about it?
I think everyone has like some sort of like, how'd you get into Bitcoin? It's like asking someone if they smoke. It's like, yo.
Embracing where the world is going. And when the whole world shut down, we saw just how important tech was.
It was more so of my style and the foods that I cooked that kind of pushed me. I wanted to live the lifestyle of an athlete or an artist while doing what I love.
Having that open mind, having that flexibility just allows you to be of so much more service to, youth or society in general.
Gamers, maybe it's because you guys just hustle different.
Anything you want to be great at, you got to put hours and hours in every single day.
And welcome back to the hash. We are stuck in the 3 box. It's a little sad, but it's okay. Jen, if you're watching this, I miss you. Not a ton, but a little bit. Let's talk about Russia, which last week, the internet did take her away. Russia last week put out this notice, and it was just repeated in many headlines across the world, that they are planning on banning Bitcoin mining, banning Bitcoin trading. Of course, as we talked about on the hash, that wasn't quite the case. There was an internal memo from the Russian central bank that was repopulated again. It's just their internal stance that they're against crypto. Now Russia's financial ministry is sending a memo back saying, no, we shouldn't ban crypto. We shouldn't ban crypto mining. We should just regulate it. So this kind of is a more tempered headline than we saw last week. I don't know how much the first headline we saw really contributed to Bitcoin's plunge. I think it's down like 17+% over the last 3 weeks. And then last week, it really took a head dive. But this is a better headline for the crypto industry in general, saying we're not going to ban crypto in Russia at all. We just want to regulate it. And it kind of brings us back to square one, right? Where we've seen a lot of the comments over the last few years from Russia and other countries kind of being this ping pong battle between central banks saying we don't want crypto, and then finance ministries or other regulators saying, why don't we just regulate this innovation? Naomi, I want to throw this one over to you. To me, this headline's not surprising, but it is important that people know about it.
Yeah, it is interesting, this war that you're talking about is brewing, not just in Russia, but in lots of different governments, sort of the central bank, Bank of Russia in this case, and the Ministry of Finance. It is like, oh, hi, Will, you full screen there. All right, you just nod your head and pretend that you're enjoying what I'm saying. Yeah, apparently. Yes. Controls like, we don't want Naomi on there. All right, I'll just keep talking. It is interesting, this war that is brewing at the moment. And it's happening all over the world. And generally, I mean, I would expect that from other governments. There I am. I'd expect that from other governments, but I tend to think of Russia as more of this cohesive unit. You know, when you have these more authoritarian countries, you think that, oh, well, they're all on the same page. One side isn't going to release a report that the other side disagrees with, which is kind of surprising to me about this case. It was also surprising to hear this kind of rhetoric. So they said that, and this was from the Ministry of Finance, they said banning crypto transactions and mining would mean undermining the industry's technological development. We need to let these technologies develop. It's kind of interesting hearing them talk about like this innovation and letting things breathe and develop. Like, it's not so different from what we're seeing in America right now, with some government officials saying, we need to ban this. This is terrible. This is undermining everything. And others saying, no, we actually need to foster innovation. We need to harness this. We don't want this to move offshore. Interesting to see this reflected in Russia here. And it's also interesting that the Bank of Russia is really reflecting what the bank in the United States, I'm getting a lot of talk in my ear. It's definitely interesting to see, you know, the different central banks also echoing each other. So Bank of Russia's report on cryptocurrencies, they said it's a threat to the country's economic stability. We've heard those exact words coming from officials in the United States. Like, it's really not so different, the way different governments are clamping down on cryptocurrency. It's kind of, I mean, it's not surprising. They're all governments. They're all protecting their interests. But it is interesting to see them just kind of echoing each other. But Zach, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, another day, another attempt to regulate something that is necessarily about, I guess, removing the power of money from the state. I mean, that's like the big innovation of like Bitcoin and stuff, right? Like, we're all used to people having money because a government says it's worth something. So it makes sense that as this thing gets bigger and bigger, was a $2 trillion asset class. Now it's down in the McDonald's deep fryer, down somewhere in the 1 trillion range. You know, it's getting to be a bigger and bigger thing that more and more people are noticing. And as such, we see more and more proclamations from governments around the world looking to figure out what's the best approach here. Do we want to try to clamp down on this thing? Do we want to try to foster this thing? How do we do it in a way that is compliant and works with existing frameworks? Or they could think of new frameworks entirely, but that tends to be a bit more challenging. All right, let's stay in the region. And let's change gears. Let's do a news story. Naomi, what do you got?
Yeah, so interesting developments going on in Kazakhstan. So we've been reporting on this about all of the civil unrest there, the protest movements, how the internet was just shut off and mining really took a hit. There's a lot of crypto mining going on in Kazakhstan. So to see the internet going down and that being shut off really did, you saw the hash rate of the entire Bitcoin network go down at the time. But now their energy problems have actually taken a toll. There was a major transmission line that was disconnected after a significant emergency imbalance in the Central Asian power system led to a power surge in Kazakhstan's northeast-south 500 kilowatt power transmission line. So lots of craziness going on there. Something in my eye. And so as a result of this, Kazakhstan's energy grid, it has been struggling to meet power demands. It's winter there, so obviously people are wanting to be using a lot of power. And so they've just put out this ban. They said the planned supply of electricity to persons engaged in digital mining is completely cancelled. This is going to be going from January 24th until the end of the month. Miners will not be allowed to use electricity at all during that time until they can get this grid, back to its standard before, get some more power going through there. So very interesting developments going on here, especially because, as I mentioned, huge amount of Bitcoin mining was in place in Kazakhstan. And now we're starting to realize, like, every time, it's like whack-a-mole. Every time country shuts it down, people move to the next country. And then the electricity goes out. They move to the next country. It's good that mining is so movable, because this might have been a disaster, but it's kind of proving the resilience actually of the Bitcoin network. But Will, I'll throw it to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, it's funny how mining continues to be in the headlines over the last 2 years. It's typically been pretty much like the most boring sector of crypto, but just because of all the geopolitical interest in the topic, it's really kind of popped up a ton. I had a great conversation with a Kazakh miner 2 or 3 weeks ago talking about this very problem where the government has to shut down power for a little bit because Kazakhstan's energy sector is just not equipped. It's a lot of old Soviet equipment, so back from the 1980s and 1990s, and it's not up to date for meeting the power needs of the population, let alone Bitcoin mining, let alone crypto mining in general. And so these crypto miners, they want to be there because it's cheap energy and it's abundant. But on the flip side, the infrastructure isn't quite ready to handle it. And so you kind of have this tug of war back and forth. The interesting thing about this proclamation, though, is they're saying that you can't use any of the energy from the grid. From talking with this Kazakh miner a few weeks ago, my understanding is a lot of these miners operate off the grid. They find cheap power in local areas. Maybe it's like an old power plant that's not hooked up to the grid, or they're creating their own power generation stations somewhere out off grid, and they just plug in and keep mining. So I'm not actually expecting this to matter that much in the long run. In China, we saw that it was a government ban of Bitcoin mining because of political ties. And here we see it's an energy problem. I think as the energy grid gets fixed over the next few years, we're going to see continued presence of Bitcoiners in that region, which is just bullish for the whole industry, I'd say, just across the board. You want to have Bitcoin have different strongholds, not just in the United States, not just in Canada or Western Europe. Naomi, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, things don't look too bullish for mining in Kazakhstan in general. They have other laws that are coming into place. The government there isn't a huge fan of the crypto mining. And so they've actually proposed a 100 megawatt energy limit for all new crypto mines as well. So if you're wanting to set up shop there, then there are severe limitations curtailing what you're able to do. So, I mean, if I were looking for a place, like it's a difficult decision. A lot of these places where the government hasn't put in these stringent rules on the outset, a lot of places like the United States have been really stringent in the early days. Then there are a lot of places like maybe, Portugal, like they're not really getting involved with like the regulation at this stage. So a lot of people are moving there, but as soon as you get that critical mass of people moving to your country in a particular activity, then the government takes notice of it and then they clamp down. So it's really a difficult decision for these crypto miners to think, well, there aren't many regulations there, we'll move there. But you're really taking a chance that government will then change their mind. It seems like a better stance might be to look for the countries that already have in place very clear regulations around mining in particular. And so it's, it's just good to manage expectations there. It's a very difficult situation for a lot of miners, but I'll throw it to you, Zach.
That's it. That's it for the show today.
That's the show.
That's the show. We lost
one
a beloved member of the cast. We lost one of the just
rest in
disappeared
peace.
into the internet. One day we'll get her back. Maybe we'll see. Till then, we'll be waiting, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.
Yeah.
I'm Zach Seward.
Everyone write in the
Naomi
comments
Brockwell.
what you love about Jen and why you miss her.
That's right. Pour one out. Pour one out for a real OG. All right.
Pour one out.
That's it for this. That's it for the show
Old
today.
nasty.
We'll be back
Press
later.
F.
CoinDesk.com. F's in the chat. F's in the chat. Yeah,
Now
that's
I have to
it.
pull up
That's it. The
YouTube
hash.
again.
That's
Just to say
it.
F.
Here we go. Yeah. See everybody. Good one. Have fun. See ya. Cool.
Bye.
Good times. Bye.